Today I'm going to be talking about the engine issues that I'm having in tuning. We're also going to be discussing the sad issue that companies can't write their manuals correctly. We're also going to be talking about gasoline outgassing and also a new project coming to the channel. Hi everybody, and welcome to the channel about kit cars and other car topics. If you like what you see, please subscribe, hit the notification buttons below, and share with others on social media. So it's been an interesting ride. Obviously, just a moment ago I put out a video, I think it was last weekend, talking about, you know, the overall issues that I've been kind of running in and all these kind of catch-22s coming up. And what's kind of funny about it is, you know, I get a bunch of thumbs down on that video, and it's like I'm explaining my experience, which is, you know, I don't want to say worst case scenarios, but it kind of is. Like, I'm running into all these issues and people don't want to hear it. And it's like, if I was going to build a car and I'm watching the channel, that's the stuff I want to hear. So I don't know, you know, what the deal is. I mean, people might think I'm bitching about stuff, but I'm not. I'm telling you my experience of what's going on, and these are the trials and tribulations. Now, I will say I think differently than most people, and I really do think about all things and its consequences and trials and tribulations, and, you know, I take things to extremes in the sense of thinking about it, of what my caveats are, and it is what it is. So I don't know why I get thumbs down on stuff like that, but it is what it is. So in any case, so here's what happened. Some of the stuff I haven't filmed in real time because it just doesn't make sense. You know, we're just in the middle of troubleshooting. So I told you I was going to hire a tuning guy to come out. Now, I showed that I was able to get my wiring kind of out of the way, and I put a nice safety area around the drive shaft, so no wires are going to run into it or someone's going to get their hand stuck in there. And I was expecting to have my tuner guy come out, and we were going to hop in the car and we were going to drive around. But when I started the car, we instantly noticed that, which is what I'm trying to explain on camera, but maybe it doesn't come across all times, that there was an issue happening. Like, the car's not idling correctly. And worst case, if I just let the car idle for like 20 minutes straight, it should get better and better and better. And it doesn't. It's like, it's just the same thing a different day. And sometimes it works itself out, and then all of a sudden it randomly doesn't. And I'll try to show some clips in a few seconds of some of the surging I was talking about driving down the road, which you probably didn't get in one of the videos that I was showing, you know, the car driving around. But I'll show you some before and afters. So my guy came out, and you know, we were talking about a few things, and then all of a sudden he's like, all right, we'll start the car. And at this point, we're just using the little handheld touchscreen, has gauges on it. You could do some programming, the wizard, stuff like that. And I start up the car, and I have to give it gas to start the car. And, you know, with fuel injection, usually you just turn the key and it's going because your foot's supposed to be on the brake, especially with push-button cars, stuff like that. And I'm, you know, trying to give it gas to keep it from not stalling out, and the car is just shaking like crazy, and it's going nuts, and worse than it normally is. I mean, it was really bad for whatever reason, which I'm glad, because it's showing its, you know, worseness during someone here that could help correct it. And so after about 3 minutes, and he's, you know, toggling this thing or whatever, and then finally he's like, your map sensor is not, it's stuck, it's not working. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, either I got a bad map sensor because I did everything correct in the startup wizard that programmed everything to do it the way that Holly tells you to do it. And so he's like, turn the car off. You know, I turn the car off, and he starts explaining to me. And again, this is stuff I don't know. And he's like, so if you were at sea level, this should be reading 100, I think it's kPa, which is atmospheric pressure. And he goes, since you're in Tucson, and we're, I think it's like 2,000 feet above or 1,100 feet above or whatever, he goes, it should be at, you know, 93. And he goes, right now it's stuck at this number, and it thinks we're somewhere else. And that's why it's running so rough. I'm like, okay. He's like, did you program this in there? I said, well, I did in the wizard. This is their map sensor that they suggested. And this is their wizard for their system. So what you come to find out is he tried a few different settings in the wizard. No difference. I mean, there was a difference. It was like stuck at 80 or stuck at 100 or stuck at whatever, but it was not at 93 what it was supposed to be. And I believe that's the number. So anyways, finally, I'm like, well, let's pull this out and stick it into the computer and see if there's other options. So we pull up the Terminator X software in the computer, we pop in the SD card, we go through a bunch of stuff, and he's like, do you know the serial number to your map thing? And I'm like, yeah, I got it in an Excel sheet because I have everything in an Excel sheet. So I start listing off some numbers. He's like, no. And then I'm like, well, how about this one? Because it's like a replacement for an older one. He's like, oh yeah, that's in here. So he clicks that, save, upload it to the CPU, turn on the car. I didn't even touch the gas. I just turned the key and it was like, boom, perfect stillness, no shaking of the car, like instantly fixed. So that brings me to a point. Now, I have an electrical engineering degree, and when we were in college and we were in our senior year, I specifically took a class, and it was a newer class that they designed because they thought there was problems with engineers that were graduating. And it was a class where you took an engineering college professor and you took an English major college professor and you married the two into one class. And they also married your senior project. So normally with a senior project, you would build some kind of electronical whatever that you're building. And it was you one-on-one with a professor. There was no actual class time. And then you would actually do your dissertation. And if you didn't pass your dissertation, you didn't get your degree. Well, they married that all into one class. So now you're going to work in a group setting instead of one-on-one, which is what you'd be doing in real life. They're going to teach you how to do memos, internal memos, these type of memos or whatever, dissertations, how to write a manual. This was all part of this class because they felt that engineers were lacking the skills in the real world of group participation, how to write proper memos because they're engineers and not English majors, and how to write a manual so people can actually figure out how to operate stuff. And it was really interesting. What we did is we had something really simple where 5 or 6 different groups wrote a manual and it had to have explicit steps on how to do things. And then we had like a secretary come from, and she's not an engineer, but it was something simple like how we're going to operate like a flashlight or open up a jar to make coffee. I think that's what it was. It was making a coffee machine, making a cup of coffee with a coffee machine. And so, she would start, and she would have to start from square one. Like, there's no you understood, if you will, in this situation. So it's like, take plastic wrap off of, coffee. Well, if that explicit instruction was in there, she couldn't get to the coffee. And so your manual was disqualified. And then they go to the next thing. Okay, now take plastic off of here. Now put cup under spout. Like, if you didn't say that, your manual is disqualified. And it just shows you the steps of how to write a manual. Now, I have this engineering degree. I run my own business. And I'm one little guy in Tucson. And throughout my dealings over the years of, corporate business, I've changed major policies for international companies that have over 60 employees and stuff. And it's just me. Because I think differently than other people. Like, I'm sitting there going, how come no one's seeing this, that this isn't working for your company? And so it always shocks me that one little guy is like bringing up stuff to, a sea of people that can't see through the forest type of thing. And so that brings me to this Holly thing, because their manual is like a quick start guide. And then they have like a more in-depth manual, but it really isn't. It kind of says, here's what you're able to do. They don't actually tell you how to do it in the manual. So it's kind of a pointless manual, if you will. And I have a Holly intake system with a map sensor based on what they suggest. If you have this, you need to use this map sensor. Well, oddly enough, that map sensor is not in the tuning wizard, which is for the Joe Blow guy that buys a system. He pops up the little screen and it says, what engine do you have? I have an LS engine. What size is it? 370 cc's. What gear ratio in your rear end? 355. What map sensor do you have? One, PSA or whatever, 1 bar, that's what it is, 1 bar. What's the size of your tires? 25.5 inches. You just pop in these different things, boom, it's supposed to work. Well, how come I'm popping in the information for the map sensor they suggest and it doesn't work? I would never know that. Now, here's the other side of it. If you're going to tell people that we have this learning system and we're going to give this to you and it's just a simple setup and here you go and boom, 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 and it's going to learn itself and everything's, rainbows and unicorns, then you also have to sit there and go, well, here's what a map sensor does. And if you're in San Diego at sea level, it's at 100 kPa. If you're at 2,000, it's this. If you're at 4,000, it's this. If you're at 1,000, it's this. And when you start the car, if you don't see this number change, I'm just making this up. Maybe it's supposed to be 93 solid and it never moves. Or maybe when you hit the gas, it should shrink to 92 or 91 because of the air blowing by. I don't know, but I'm just saying. Give me one sentence that says, you should see this happen and this and this. If that's not happening, your map sensor is not working correctly and you need to program it. Something as simple as that I explained half-assed in 30 seconds only takes an engineer 10 minutes to write. Do you know how much less tech support they would have for people calling into them? Now here's the other thing. I called tech support and told them that the engine was running horribly. I didn't know what was going on, this and that and that. Is there any air leaks? No, there isn't. We already had some air leaks. I figured that out. And the tech support guy didn't even pick up that the map sensor was wrong. How could he? He didn't ask for a log to send it in and look at it. So it's this type of stuff that for me is trivial. If you're running a business, you should have certain caveats listed out. Like if you're going to claim that it's a simple process, then give people some guidelines of if these things aren't happening and you check this, this, and this, then give us a call and we'll try to work it through. But if they're just like, here it is and it's supposed to work and good luck, well, of course your tech support lines are going to be lighted up for, 24/7. It takes a good hour to hour and 20 minutes to get through the tech support line to get someone on the phone. And so imagine that probably most of that would go away to like maybe 20 minutes on the phone, and then they wouldn't have to have their hours so long for tech support. So these are the things that I think businesses miss big time. But in any case, so that's something I would have never figured out on my own, and this guy came out. And so the next thing I was expecting was to hop in the car, and he's like, well, if I'm doing a tune, like we have to do it all. We have to be driving around, we have to be going highway speeds, we have to be doing all this, doing that. Well, my transmission's not shifting, so I ain't getting out of first gear. So we can't go on highway speeds, we can't, do any of this stuff. And I was expecting that once the engine is dialed in, that I might be able to, I shouldn't say I was expecting because I actually didn't think that was true, but I was hoping it might be true, that it would unlock the transmission. And so, needless to say, we didn't go out, we didn't, this became a tech support call, then it became an actual tuning session. But the engine's running fine now, and the system is willing to learn at this point, which is great. So since then, I've talked to the transmission shop, and he gave me some ideas of what to try to see what's going on, but he does think the solenoids are stuck, but let's try these few things before you drop it off. One of them is actually disconnecting the controls off the transmission so it's not being computer controlled. And he goes, it should shift on its own automatically after a certain amount of RPMs. He goes, you don't want to drive it around for 10 miles doing this. He goes, but as a tech support issue, you should be able to drive it around for like 2 blocks and see if anything changes when you pull off the digital control. I haven't tried that yet, but that's something next on my list. However, I have gone out and I've had to drive around, and I did talk to Holly Tech Support again. I got a really nice guy, and he said, you know what? You can log on the system. Now, I thought you could only log if you had a laptop connected, but you can log on the little, handheld tuner. He goes, log the session, send it to me. I'll look at the data and see if the computer is actually telling it to shift, and then you're experiencing that it's not shifting. And he goes, then we know for a fact that it's mechanical. He goes, if I see anything else in there, I'll let you know, but at least we could do that. So I drove around the block a few times, and it did not shift. I even hit up to like 4,000 RPMs. It did not shift. But I did get the log, and I did send it off to them, so I'm waiting to hear back on that. So another thing that's happening, and it has been happening since around like a week before I started the engine, is I put gas into the car because I knew we were going to start the engine for the first time. And I noticed that the garage is filling up with outgassing of gasoline, which is really freaking dangerous. Especially because I have my gas heater, my water heater, gas operated water heater in the garage. Now, luckily, I have an electronic system, so it only lights the pilot when it needs to heat the water and it's not lit the whole time. And it also has a sensor in it that when it senses fumes, it shuts down and it won't light up. And it has been shut down for over 2 weeks. And this has been going on for a while, but it's always been mild. But once I knew I was going to start driving around and I'm trying to test my gas gauge, I wanted to fill up more gas. So I have somewhere around 10 gallons of gas in this tank. And with that and the heat that's been going on, just in the environment, it's been 113. It has been off the hook in here to where I've walked out into the garage after like being closed up all night, and I'm scared to push the electronic, door opener for the garage door in case that creates a little spark. So I've actually been having the doors cracked open, so there's breathing and stuff going on, and my water heater has been off for 2 weeks straight. And luckily, I haven't taken any cold showers because it's been so hot out that the water's fine. But so I've been dealing with Factory 5 on that, and I'm saying, listen, I got this hooked up the way the manual says. I don't know why anything would be different. There's no leaks anywhere. And so finally, when I was moving stuff around to get this car ready to tune and I was protecting the drive shaft, I pulled the seat out, which of course is a two-man operation. I can't do it on my own. pulled the seat out, pulled the back wall off so I could get to the charcoal canister that's supposed to get rid of all your fumes. And sure enough, that's where it was coming from. Because I was putting my nose to everything else, and I couldn't figure it out. And also, when the whole room is full, you can't smell a difference in anything anyway. So I had to wait until the room was clear and then try to go sniff. And so I put tape over. There's 4 openings in this canister. One is where you put the gas, the outgassing line to the canister. And I taped off the other 3, and the smell instantly went away. So I have a faulty gas canister. So finally, through tech support, they're sending me another canister. But I found out that these can crack in shipping, and that's what happened with mine. I've also found out from some other people that if for some reason it gets saturated, that you have to replace them too. But I barely have any gas in this thing. I mean, it started happening the first 3 gallons that I put into the tank, and it started outgassing, so that was an issue. So I believe mine was cracked from shipping or whatever, and I'm going to replace it out. But hopefully in a week I'll have that solved, and I can turn my gas water heater back on. And again, when you're out here and you're trying to film, or we were doing like the tech support issues, I had the doors open and stuff, but you'd still get a breeze coming through, and it breathed that gas fumes right into you. And after being out here for like 3 hours with my tuner, just talking and fixing a few things or whatever, like I was done for the day. Like I just didn't feel good because of those fumes in the room. So that's what's going on there. And then the next thing I'm going to talk about is the new project. Now, don't anybody get scared. I'm not stopping the 33, but I do have a new project. I've actually had this project for a long time. I've hinted on the channel about it a while ago, and some people were guessing on what it might be. And one person actually did well and got it right. And the reason that I'm bringing it out now is, with this car, I've always known exactly what I wanted to do with it. And not to say I didn't make changes or whatever, but I've presented it to you guys, I want to say after the fact in a sense. Like this is my vision, this is what I'm doing, and you guys are along for the ride, and that's really cool. And the encouragement I've gotten from everybody's comments and stuff, that's been awesome, because sometimes, I'll be honest, I really need it. It's been a little brutal. And this is one of those times, actually. It's just too much stuff going wrong, and it's hot out, and it's difficult, and it's just much. It's a lot. And but what's going to be different about the next project is I'm not starting the next project for a while. And so we have a good 6 months for people to throw some ideas into the hat, and maybe find some parts for it that might be better than the ones I have, or whatever. I don't know what that looks like, but it's something I haven't done this channel. Everything I've been doing is like, this is what I'm doing, and it's set in stone for the most part, and thank you for the tech support and all the things that people have commented about. But hey, what if people got some ideas in beforehand, before I start this project? And so the next few videos you're going to see are some videos that I filmed a while ago. And I've actually been hiding this vehicle. It's been in my driveway this whole time, but it's been hidden, except for every once in a while it gets, caught in a camera angle or whatever, but really, I've tried to hide that as much as possible. And that's actually why I'm shooting at this camera angle, because if that door was open, you'd see the project. And if this angle is wide enough from this side, this right here where my hand is, that's where you would see the vehicle. And so for the last 2 years, I've been filming around this stationary vehicle in my driveway and keeping it out of camera angles. And I'm tired of doing that. So I'm going to launch this, let you know what it is. And then I don't care if it's in my camera angles or not, because it's there and everybody knows about it. And so that's cool. But I'm really excited about this project. And what it's going to do is there's about three videos coming out that's going to be about this next project. And it's going to allow me to spend some time getting tech support with the transmission shop or whatever I need to do on this. Because, there's nothing for me to film on that. And then kind of hopefully in the next 2 weeks, I get this stuff figured out. I get my mojo back. I'm feeling better lately, so that's good. And I go back to work and I kick ass and I get my second win and I get this thing to completion. And so some of the things I'm kind of contemplating right now is, do I strip all the body off even though I'm not really ready to, just to give me something to do, and finalize my wiring and get the air conditioning system in and do all the things that I need to do and start, putting in the insulation and things like that and just button up this car? Or do I just kind of leave it as is? I got a new trunk actually for this because this trunk doesn't line up at all with the body of this car. And see, hopefully the new one does. Do I finish up the bodywork first and then get that all finished, pull it off the car, then build the car while the rest of the body is getting sanded or whatever, off the car or whatever? I don't know yet. I still need a little bit of information to make those decisions. And I'm hoping it's just like, it jumps out at me as like, boom, this is what I'm doing. Great, awesome. I just feel like I'm stuck right now. And, I definitely don't want the body off of the car when I take it down to the train shop and it's just this open carcass sitting there, collecting dust. I don't really want to do that. So I want some protection to the car. And so I don't know. I don't know where that's going, but I'm excited about the new project. So the next few videos are going to be about that. And hopefully I'll have this thing figured out at the end of that. And then we're just moving forward and we're back to business. So thanks for listening. I hope this one thing I did want to say, I forgot about this, is I was talking to my buddy Seth, and he's a GM computer guy, and my tuner guy is like, the best computer you could have for an LS engine is the GM computer. It's bulletproof, it's amazing, it's phenomenal. And the one thing I'll say is, he was sending me some information like, hey, I think your idling issues and all that stuff is because you don't have 10 inches between your throttle body and your air filter where the MAF filter goes, or the MAF sensor goes. Well, in a GM system, you have to have a MAF filter in there. In a Holley system, it's not used. It doesn't exist in their system. You got an MAT and MAP, but you don't have the MAF, which is on the front. And so in this situation of what I'm running, with that 33 nose coming back like this and my mid-rise intake going like this, there's no room for 10 inches before an MAF filter. So I'm kind of glad I don't have a GM system in here, because it would have caused more issues for me physically to try to get something to operate correctly, because I don't have any room. Now, if I had the 32 front, like my buddy Seth has, he has like 1.5 feet of room there to do whatever he wants. But with that 33 lean back, there's literally no room. So I literally have like 2 inches of a 45 degree, it's like 1 inch on one side and 4 inches on the other. And then I got my filter. And because I don't have that MAF, I don't have to worry about it. It's fine because the system doesn't use it. So that and the pedal can be something that makes you decide to go GM or not GM. And yeah, you could weld up your pedal, whatever, but something to think about when you're thinking about putting an LS engine in a tight space, some of the options that you could use. Third-party Holley system, GM system, and pros and cons of each. But if you have the chance to put in a GM system, I would, because it's bulletproof. So in any case, that's everything. Hope you guys like this stuff, and have a great day, and hope you enjoy the new project that's coming out.